Hello and welcome to the What Women Want Today podcast. You might be asking yourself right about now, well, what do women want? I mean, we're pretty complex creatures, right? Well, I think we want it all, and I'm here to explore it with you. My name is Terry Kellums. I'm your host. Go grab your favorite beverage. I've already got my glass of wine, and let's get started. Hello, friend, and welcome to another episode of the What Women Want Today podcast. I'm your host, Terry Kellums. I have a question for you today. Do you have a bucket list? What kind of bucket list is it? Is it a travel list? Or maybe just things you'd like to experience? Maybe recipes you want to try or books you want to read? Well, I have a podcast bucket list. It's a list of random ideas that pop in my head, and I think to myself, I wonder if that would make a good topic to discuss. Or I wonder if I might want to interview someone on that. So for a while now, the word judgment pops in and out of my head. And one day I decided to sit down and dive into what it would bring to you, my audience, and what I might also learn from talking about it. But I keep pushing it farther and farther down on my topics list. Then recently I read a quote, and it niggled and nudged its way into my brain until I could no longer put off talking about it. All right, here's the quote. Every time you judge someone, you reveal a part of yourself that needs healing. Whoa. I'm going to say it one more time. Every time you judge someone, you reveal a part of yourself that needs healing. Are you tempted to pause the podcast right now to reflect on that? No worries. I've got you covered. I'm going to put it in the show notes, and it'll also be a part of my post today for the episode on Instagram and Facebook. But friend, it stopped me scrolling in my tracks, and I was scrambling to ask myself, who or what have I judged recently? And what work do I need to do on myself? I'm going to share that a little later in the podcast, so stay with me today, friend. So here we are together, examining judgment. My first thought was that judgment comes when we don't have enough information or knowledge on a subject, but I also believe that it comes out of our own fears. And the idea that if we open our minds to consider new ideas, we feel a little insecure about who we really are. I'm sure you've heard the saying, she is set in her ways. We all have ideas and ways of doing things that feel comfortable, and we don't always want to change them. Change can be hard. We even judge ideas that seem crazy. And can you imagine what the Wright brothers went through when they talked about flying? But I also think as a society, we have many quick judgments we put into place. A business based on some Yelp reviews, a person on where they live geographically, a post we see on social media that doesn't align with our values and beliefs, the way someone dresses, the way they parent their children. We have cultural, gender, and racial judgments. I'm not going to get into religion or the lack thereof, or even political beliefs. But we judge women on whether they choose to not have children, or if they do choose to have children, we judge both the mom and the dad if the dad decides to stay home with the kids instead of mom. And there are many other judgments. I'm sure you can think of a few on your own, but I think this is all pretty dangerous territory for our own personal growth and for the human race in general. In the long run, judging makes us feel worse about ourselves, and it perpetuates stereotypes. It creates a negative space in your heart and in your mind. Here we are at the spot now where I need to tell you who I've judged the most harshly in my life. Me. I judge my appearance. I judge myself for both standing up for myself and not standing up for myself. I judge my productivity. I'm hard on myself the days I don't exercise. I have been asking myself if I've neglected my body in some way to be 52 years old and have a bum knee that I've been hobbling along on for a few days now. I judge myself for still struggling through my childhood trauma that makes it so hard for me to have confrontation with people without a lot of anxiety. And yeah, I could probably keep going, but I'm wondering if you've already started recognizing some of your own struggles with self-judgment. Now, not all judgment is necessarily bad. We do experience things that require us to make judgment calls. Say we try a new nail salon and we notice that they don't use good hygiene practices. We go to a mechanic and they don't fix our car properly. When we go to an accountant that encourages us to fudge things a bit with our taxes. We want our children to make character judgments so that we feel comfortable with who they're spending time with. So what do? I think we start with awareness and grace. Sometimes we have to shine a light in the dark to really be able to see where we're going. And then the grace kicks in because we're all a work in progress. Years ago, I read this book called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And in the book, the author talked about ants and how to use them to stop negative thoughts. And the word ant is an acronym for another negative thought starting. I think the same principle can be used to become more aware of our judging thoughts. Number one, simply recognizing the judgment, and I would consider writing it down if you're able to. Two, reflect on what is happening that is causing me to feel this judgment. Three, have I always felt this way, or has something influenced a change in my thinking? Number four, how might I feel differently if I tried to look at this with more information? 5, on a scale from 1 to 10, what's the importance of this judgment? Number 6, does this make my life better or worse? Number 7, does this make me feel peace or anxiety? And number 8, am I willing to let it go? Now, I'm going to pick on my husband for a minute, but I did tell him I was going to do this. We were sitting at a restaurant this weekend, and the table next to us were giving the waitress their drink orders. And one of the gentlemen sitting at the table asked for an iced tea with no ice. And the minute I heard the man say that, I looked over to my husband, and I could see this look on his face. And I said, something's bothering you about what he just said. And he goes, yeah, why does he have to be difficult? Why can't he just order the iced tea the way normal people order iced tea? And immediately I recognized that his value of being very helpful, which in his mind also means not being difficult, caused him to believe that man was giving the waitress an extra task or adding on to her duties as a waitress, and he felt as though the man could just take the ice out himself. So I said to him, but if he doesn't ask for it the way he wants it, then he doesn't get it the way he wants it, right? And he said, well, you order water all the time at a restaurant and then take out the ice. And I said, right, but I'm not getting what I want. I want room temperature water, and I'm just getting ice cold water minus the ice. So sometimes we make judgments based out of our own value system, and we have the belief that other people should believe the same way we do. Now, as I've said in other episodes of the podcast, lasting change comes slowly, and changing thought patterns takes time and effort. This past weekend, I was invited to speak virtually in honor of International Women's Day. And one of the questions I was asked after I finished my talk was, when you're seeking your purpose, where do you start? And I recommended starting with knowing yourself, increasing your self-awareness. What makes you, you? Understanding your responses to judgment is a great step in that direction. Mindset is something I help coaching clients with. And if you need help with this, please send me an email and we can set up a complimentary call to see if working with me as a coach could benefit you. You can reach me at my email address at Terry, Terri, at terricallums.com, and I will put a link in the show notes. All right, I want to take a moment out of our time together today to thank another listener for her review. It's Vonda K. Norris, and here's what she has to say. Here is a woman who is for women. Terry has insight into topics that I didn't know I needed to hear so much. She has relevant topics, especially for 40-plus women. I love her interviews with other coaches and experts. Her podcasts have been a wonderful resource in my journey towards discovering my passions my purpose, and simply managing midlife. Thank you so much for that. If you don't listen on Apple Podcasts and you are able to review on whatever platform you enjoy listening to, go ahead and just take a screenshot and send it through private message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll be happy to share that on a future episode. If you are on Apple Podcasts and you're on the show page for the What Women Want Today podcast, all you have to do is scroll down past trailer for the show, and you'll see ratings and review, where it allows you to put a 5-star rating and then also write a review. I appreciate those so much. They really do help other women find the show. Okay, we've reached the end of our time together today, and I want to get you a bonus quote. It's from the Mind Journal, and it says, "It's easy to judge. It's more difficult to understand. Understanding requires compassion, patience, and a willingness to believe that good hearts sometimes choose poor methods. Through judging, we separate. Through understanding, we grow." Until next time, friend, I wish you good health and a happy heart. Thanks for being with me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. If you'd like to continue the conversation, come on over and join our private Facebook group, What Women Want Today. I'd love to hang out with you some more there. Any resources mentioned in today's episode will be in the show notes. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at What Women Want Today Podcast, or visit my website at whatwomenwanttoday.com. Please remember to subscribe, download, and share. Leave me a review. It helps other amazing women find the show and become a member of our community. One last thing for you today. You are not alone. You are worthy of love and a fulfilled life. Now it's time to go after it.